Hello and welcome to another edition of Magical Journey's Paranormal Files. My name is Daniel Cahoon. I am the host of Magical Journey, and I am going to, before we get started today, do a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, normally I open up with talking about the website, but I want to introduce you guys to my Patreon. I recently started working on it. There are pages published already. It is still in the works for actually personally inviting people in. But I wanted to let you guys know and make you aware that Patreon is a thing. It is about to get officially launched, and you will be getting invites to it if you are subscribed to me or you are a member, especially if you're a member of the Facebook group. You will definitely be getting some notifications, some invitations from me. So with that, though, and I will be adding it to the website as soon as I get it to the point where I'm ready to launch it officially. But if you would do me a favor, and as you see down below in the scrolling thingy there, magicaljourney.com, the website, that is a place to bookmark and go to for all things Magical Journey. You'll be able to find my link tree. You'll be able to find links to all of my social media. Some playlists are on there. All of my playlists, actually, for the podcast are on there. There's ways of being able to contact me personally to book a reading with me. Let me emphasize that. I do readings now, and you can book your readings on there with me through the website. Gives you instructions on what to do and how to go about contacting me about a reading. There is some content on there that you won't see on my channel necessarily, which is all interviews that I've done on other people's channels, and I will be posting some more this year on there because I have 2 interviews scheduled with other people coming up very soon. What else? Yes. And there's also a link to the Magical Merch store where you can buy all kinds of wonderful things to be my walking, talking billboard. And I appreciate that and love you for it. So with that, I think that's pretty much all I really have to say about this. You can find, like I said, go to magicaljourney.com. Join the Facebook group if you're on Facebook, Magical Journey, to be able to get some inside stuff that you normally don't get anywhere else, and be able to find out more about some of my social media and stuff coming up. Okay, so today I'm going to do something a little different. Today I'm going to add my first installment of my personal entry to the Paranormal Files. And occasionally you will notice this is going to happen, where I will add a personal page into the Paranormal Files, and we'll have some time to kind of go over a little bit about investigation and research, and just kind of logging a little bit of my progress along the way. And today we're going to talk about things I wish I would have known as an investigator, researcher before now, or when I first started, most likely when I first started. So, number 1, keeping accurate and good notes, and lots of notes. I cannot stress this enough. If you're going to do research, especially if you're going to do research, um, note taking, note taking, note taking. Uh, do hard copy notes, do audio notes. Uh, if you are using an actual hard, if you're actually using a hard copy book, um, if it's one that you don't mind taking notes in the margin of the book or underlining in the book as you go, notes, 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 notes. I can't begin to tell you how important it is to make sure that you are taking legible, let me repeat, legible and many notes on what you're doing research on. And, if you really want to be clever, uh, jotting down, where your notes are coming from, making references to everything as you go. If you've ever done a research paper, I would kind of suggest using that format almost in a way when it comes to note taking. Like you want to make sure you've got a good bibliography of your resources, where you got your notes from. Was it from watching a video? Was it from reading this book? Was it an article? Was it an audio file that you were listening to and taking notes as you went? What exactly was it? The type of media, who it was, where it was, the date and time, um, even like the dates and years and so forth of the information that you're getting. Um, because I got to tell you, even if you have like notebooks full of just notebook stacks everywhere of notes on things, as long as you know where to find your stuff when you need it. Um, and even learning how to file your notes, that would be another thing I would add to this, like how to keep an accurate record of your records. Where can I find this stuff at? Where can I find notes from that Mothman book I just read? So note taking, I'll never be able to stress that enough. You must keep good notes, accurate notes, mini notes, notes about your notes. It is very valuable for later as you continue to probe the research that you're currently doing. Or if you go back to it at another time, say you decide, hey, I've exhausted everything I can right now, but you want to update the material later on. These are all good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Note taking is very good stuff. I would almost suggest, like, to be honest with you, like digital files are very good for two. I wish, of course, early on when I first started doing research, we didn't have computers. We had notebooks, lots of them, and you had folders like manila folders and file cabinets, and that's where you kept everything, and scrapbooks and that kind of thing. So but now, we have, in the digital age, we have computers. I have an external file. I have a 5T external file that I can keep photos, videos, OneNote pages, all kinds of stuff on there. I can, keep all kinds of, like, anything that can be saved to a file can be kept on there and put in a file, um, specifically for the case you're researching. So, and if you really want to be clever, you can have the main file for the topic that you're researching or the case you're researching, and then have subfiles in that for photos, audio, video, um, any PDF documents, all of that. You can subfolder all of that stuff and have really good, uh, a really good structure to be able to go back and go, oh, this file is going to be in this file, or this picture is going to be in this file under this topic, and so there's a lot of good ways now to be able to catalog your information. Again, you can transcribe your notebooks or your notes from your notebook and type those in, or even do an audio file of your notes in your notebook and put them in on your computer files. There's all kinds of ways now of going back and doing that, but definitely consider, I wish I would have known of a better way to catalog my information. I wished would have had the computer system to do cataloging back in the day. I would still have a lot of files I no longer have, and a lot of things that that I wish I had still in my possession that I do not now. Had I had a cloud or something to store all that information on. So that is definitely one of the first things that I wish, I would have known at the very beginning of starting out as a researcher and investigator. The other thing is kind of likened to it. Equipment, knowing which equipment, is absolutely, paramount to me being an investigator and a researcher. Primarily now, I'm doing mostly research. I really don't have the time or the equipment or the funding right now to go on investigations so much, unless I'm doing some kind of experimenting here at the house or whatever. But as a researcher, there's still equipment that I need. Obviously a computer, notebooks, pens, microphone for recording audio, and I've got my camera for recording video. If I want to do a video journal entry, or discuss on video my findings from the research I'm doing currently or whatever. Having a voice active digital recorder can be very handy sometime, for all kinds of reasons. If you're doing research or you're doing an experiment, say you're trying to capture an EVP in your house or whatever, having that voice recorder can be very, very good. Cameras. One camera is really great. 2 cameras is awesome. 3 cameras is freaking fabulous. Because, with cameras, there is overkill, but honestly, it's very important to be able to have multiple cameras if you're going on investigations. If you're doing a podcast, if you're doing research of any kind, sometimes, having a couple of cameras is not a bad idea. The other thing that's really good to make sure you've got is, some kind of some kind of way of kind of planning out, like a planner or whatever, to plan out different tasks and different steps on different days or different weeks or whatever. Say this week I'm gonna read this book, and this is what I'm going to do as a result of reading this book, or this is what I'm going to do for the note taking process and all that. Making sure that you've got some way of some method, planned out on what you're going to do research wise on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. I really wish I would have known this at the very beginning and had a plan for doing the stuff that I do, instead of just kind of willy-nilly doing whatever, and then having to go back, sometimes backtracking and doing the same thing 2 or 3 times, or whatever. It's just easier to have a plan, develop a plan for what you're doing, what you're working on. Equipment wise, other things, that you may want to consider with equipment, having a pendulum next to you while you're doing your research, or having some kind of divination tools around you is not always a bad idea at all, because while you're doing research, if you want to do divination on it to see, whatever you need to do divination on for it, I really wish I would have known that or thought about that at the beginning of my time as a researcher, because there are times when doing a little bit of divination to find out where your head's at, what you need to focus on during the investigation or the research is always a good thing. Having crystals, that support the mental process, the learning process, the protection process, obviously, and the grounding process are always a good idea, as far as like some metaphysical tools that help in the process of researching. One of the things that's really important, and I cannot stress this enough either, and I wish I would have known all along from day one, is keeping an open mind and keeping, I guess what I really want to say here is the ability to be open to many different avenues of, say, for instance, with the Amityville case, which is something I'm working on right now still. And one of the things that I'm running up against with this is trying to look at all the different avenues about the actual haunting itself. Was it real? What is it? If it was a real haunting, were some of the things exaggerated? Were they not exaggerated? What are some of the things that actually really happened? What are things that may have been fabricated along the way? Who all may have been involved that, in the case? Are we talking about just the family members and the priest? Are there other people that may have experienced things that we don't know about yet, or maybe has not been highly published? You want to look at all the avenues that you can, and you want to look at it open-mindedly. You don't want to get settled into one train of thought and say, okay, this is the truth. This is my truth about what happened, and that's all there is to it. No, you want to explore all the different avenues that you can find, all of them. even if it takes a couple of years or more of doing research to find other directions that the story goes in, or other, key pieces of the puzzle that may lead to, finding new information, or information that you just never was exposed to before. Uh, you know, Going back to the Trini Gibson case, which is another thing that I'm currently exploring. That's not necessarily paranormal, but it is a case that I'm exploring, a 411 case, missing 411 case that I'm exploring right now. Looking at new information as it comes out, little bits and pieces at a time, looking at the different characters involved that kind of have a red flag or need further exploration about their part into her becoming missing, or the story, and checking all of the avenues that you can on each of those things, each of the people, all the possibilities. Trini went on, was at one point, her scent was picked up on the Appalachian Trail. Is it possible she may have came in contact with cult members, or a stranger who was didn't have the best intentions, or could somebody have abducted her there on the trail, or at least taken her hostage on the trail? There's a lot of questions. You have to be willing to open your mind to all of the questions. Like, when you find out something like Trini was on the Appalachian Trail, ask yourself questions. Ask yourself, who, what, when, where, why, and how. And find out, like, make a list of all of the questions that come to mind, and then if any other questions come to mind while you're answering those questions, write them down and include them. But tracking down all of the possibilities, and it may take years, literally, to research a particular case or a particular topic and do all of this work. But, had I known then what I know now, I would be more excited about the idea of ongoing investigation taking a long time to do. Laura Risti has been working on the Trini Gibson case for over 20 years, and she has compiled a massive amount of information, over that time, by asking those questions: who, what, when, where, why, and how. And exploring the avenues over time. Every time she gets a tidbit, somebody says, "Hey, have you thought about this?" It triggers her to start looking at that possibility and going, could this have been a part of the story? So, yes, working on cases could take decades to do on just one case, and that's fine and wonderful. I wish I would have known that at the very beginning, that I wasn't going to come up with the answer to every single thing overnight, in a week's time, and all the cases I was working on would be closed right then and there. That's not how it works. If all you're wanting to do is get, just kind of get a generalized idea about a particular thing, like the West Virginia dog man. If all you want to do is have a synopsis, a little bit of a taste, maybe a report of sorts on the West Virginia dog man, and that's all you want, and that's the your limit to the file, at least for that period of time, then that's fine and wonderful, and that's great. But the fact is there's going to be that one thing, at least, if not multiple things, that you run across that you really want to further investigate. And I think for me, had I known then at the very beginning that there were things that I would want to spend longer time on, digging deeper on, it would have been a lot nicer in the end, because what I was doing at the very beginning was just like, I would go and I would read up, and I would, like, maybe get 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 items, books, articles, documentaries, newspaper, whatever, read it, take notes on it, uh, write up the final report, and call it good. And then I would go to the next thing, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But again, I think as a researcher, uh, it's more rewarding sometimes to have at least that one case that you deep dive and go in deep, throw yourself in the rabbit holes over, uh, and yeah. So one of the things too that I wish I would have known at the beginning that would have made it a lot better, as far as networking and having human interaction during research, like finding other people who are researching or have researched the topic that you're working on, and network with them to get information or to find places and things that you may want to get a hold of. Maybe they have photos, or that they wouldn't mind sharing, or there's something that they can offer you in the way of files, or maybe share an ebook or whatever with you that you don't have access to on your own or whatever. Networking with other people, getting to know other investigators, and talking to them about what you're investigating. I really wished I would have known about that a little more, and thought more about that when I was first starting out. It's so much easier, to have people that you can go to and, hey, so I heard about this in connection with this case. What do you think about it? Or what do you know about it? Or, hey, I'm working on this case right now. Have you done this before? Have you gone into this? If so, do you have anything you can toss my way? Let's talk about it. There's a lot of things, a lot of value to working with other people in collaboration with information and evidence, and sharing, what you have, and kind of helping each other expand their work a little bit more, because one or two people working on a case together, maybe 3 or 4 even working on a case together, sometimes it's not a bad deal. Having more eyes, more ears, more mouths, and more hands in the pot is not necessarily always a bad thing. Again, something very valuable I could have used at the very beginning, that I did not use right off the bat by any means. And when I did start utilizing it, I did not always utilize it in an optimized way, and I did not always utilize it to the fullest of its potential. So now I'm more involved with it. Like, if I'm working on something and I know somebody else is working on it or has worked on it in the past, going to them and asking them, hey, what do you think about this? Or have you considered this angle? Or what do you have, to share with me about this particular piece of information? So again, something else very important to think about as if you're just starting out with research, especially the research end of it, and is who can help me and who can I connect with that's going to enrich my investigation. Here's another one. Oh my God. Now with computers and the web and all of the different resources available out there, archives, um, there's library archives and resources online of all kinds, um, to be able to get information. There's in the early stages, and it may still exist. I haven't really looked it up in a while. In the early stages of the internet, we had something called Black Vault that had a lot of files, and they may still be around. I'll have to check that out later. I haven't looked at it in a long time, so it would be really good to know if they're still around. Yeah, there's a website, the CIA or the FBI rather has a website with declassified information from the FBI on it. There's declassified Blue Book, and all kinds of resources out there for information on all kinds of subjects. Photo archives, video archives. There's all sorts of really, really good places to reference, to check out, to reach out to. If you're inclined to honestly having a subscription to Kindle books, it is not a bad thing, because there's a lot of books that come into to play with that subscription that are free to read, that people have written about a lot of paranormal topics. So, online books and ebooks, audiobooks are abundance out there. YouTube is forever and a day. You can spend the rest of your life watching YouTube videos and nothing else, on every subject imaginable to man, and women. So, asking yourself the question, what resources are available to me for research? Like I said, the big ones are photo, video, audio, written material. Those are the four really big things right there, that are things you want to exhaust all of the options you have to locate those types of files. PDFs that are available for download, that have, like, journals. A lot of journals, a lot of different things are in PDF form that you can download, and periodicals and that kind of things. There's all sorts of things that are out there to download and research. If you're doing something on a case like with Trini Gibson right now, Laura Risti and I are looking at some stuff like the genealogy aspect, documentation on Trini's family, the dad and the grandfather and so forth, the grandma, the mom, getting documentation, from on the genealogy side of it, to, find out a little bit more about them as people. So there's all kinds of resources to tap into, and asking yourself, what is out there? Where can I dig into next? That's a big question. Where can I dig at next? because it's very important to tap into all the available stuff you can. Again, I cannot stress that enough. If I would have known that at the beginning, like I said, I was very limited back in the day. We had like newspaper articles, we had television, we had documentaries, you know, there was books, obviously. You could go to the library and find some things occasionally. Microfiche usually had newspaper articles going back a few ways. So periodicals, that was a good way of finding information. But that was, occasionally you had the video, you or auto recording or photo archives that had, plaster castings of Bigfoot or whatever. I mean, those were kind of pretty much what my big thing were the big four: books, periodicals, libraries, and audio and video, mostly video, documentary, that sort of thing. So that was pretty much where I centered most of my work at back in the day. Was on those kind of things. I didn't really do a lot of interviews with people. Actually, at first, I didn't do any. If I was going out to do an investigation, I would interview people, but I didn't start doing investigations until way after I was doing research for a while. So you didn't have your phone and your laptop and your iPad, back at that time to tap into more resources. Now you do have that. And for new people coming in or newer people coming in, I would tell you to research what you've got to do, what places you can research at, if that makes sense. Research places you can research at, because you will find a lot of things out there. Even a little blurb somewhere about something can have a major clue hiding in it somewhere. So you don't want to leave any of those stones unturned if you can, if you're really wanting to deep dive on a particular story, a case, a subject. So again, if I would have known other avenues to, as far as gaining information, gleaning information, when I first started, I would definitely have been fared better off, with maybe discovering journals. I don't know what, I can't imagine now what did not come up to my attention early on. Now, like I said, I mean, the sky is the limit on what you can find, where you can find things at, what resources, what format things are in. You can get information on DNA samples and all kinds of stuff now that we just didn't have then. And so that is definitely a big area. So another thing that's like really kind of would have been something to have known, been good to have known from the very beginning, is just how to process and how do I want to put this? If and when you start finalizing something, how to put it into, I mean, do you want to write a book? Do you just want to write a very thorough report, a thesis, whatever? um, to finalize it, or did you just want to leave your information in, a fairly organized, file or files, uh, and call it good that way? I mean, the end game with whatever you're researching, I mean, obviously, if it's just like, if you're just doing like a basic research on something, writing a report at the end of it, um, detailing what you found, is fine. If you're doing a decade or two worth of research, the possibility of writing a book at that point is not unheard of. Probably profitable. Just saying. I mean, depending. Dewey Edwards, shout out to Dewey. I did an interview with him, and he is just an amazing guy to interview. Like I'm bringing him back on. This interview will drop coming up here soon, in a couple of weeks or so. But Dewey did incredible research on the Mantell UFO case and wrote a book on it. I just got the book open the other day. I got the ebook, and I just started reading it the other day. And, I mean, he's detailing a lot of things in the very beginning of the book. So, I'm not even like I think I just started chapter 3 in that book. And, you know, he's compiled quite a bit of information into writing this. He's also working on another book right now on another case where I'm quite sure, knowing Dewey, he's turning over every little leaf and blade of grass he can find to put in that book. And so, at in the end game for your research, is it a file? Is it a report? Is it a book? What is it that you're really doing uh, with the collective of the information that you've gotten? I think if I would have thought about that at the beginning, what is my final compilation going to look like for this information? What format am I going to use? Am I going to do a documentary? That's another thing I enlist in there, or am I going to, write a book? Am I going to write it? How am I going to present this information? Finally. So these were all good things to contemplate and think about and know. That would have helped me greatly at the beginning, and has helped me as I start to learn to utilize them all over again. Now that I've opened up this new chapter of research in my life, um, there's so many things. I mean, I could go on forever talking about things that, if I would have known then what I know now, it would have been a much easier time. And again, like I said, having access to information now in different ways, different formats that we did not have back then, is a huge blessing. And another bit of information that I want to share on this too, while I'm thinking about, is making list of books that you want to read, list of articles that you would like to find, um, making a list of cases that you want to research, or topics you want to research, keeping list of things. It can be very helpful. Start out with topics and cases that you want to research. I want to research the Mothman. I want to research UFOs. Under UFOs, I want to research abductions, CE1, CE2, CE3, CE4, CE5. Um, I want to research the different types of aliens, the different types of spacecraft that people have seen. Um, into cryptids, I want to research Mothman, Bigfoot, Dogman, Bat Squatch, Goatman, whatever is the thing that you want to pull out. Do I want to research under ghost and apparitions and paranormal? Do I want to research Slender Man, Hat Man, um, shadow people, poltergeist? What do I want to research? What are the topics that I want to research? Which ones I want to deep dive? Making those lists. Once you have a list re um, devoted to the who, what, when, where, and why on topics and cases that you want, then going back and listing the different formats, different references, different places you may want to visit, people you want to talk to, whatever. List, uh, and then checking those off as you do each one. Hey, I researched full body apparitions, if you want to be really specific. And so far I've looked up all the information at the library, books, video media, audio media, photo media. I've looked at all those things. Um, Interviews with people, I have not looked at that yet. There's a documentary or two here I haven't looked at yet. I haven't checked out YouTube for this yet. It's like you go through these lists and you decide what you catalog what you've already done by checking it off, but then you have a roadmap you can kind of create for yourself based on what you haven't done yet, what you haven't touched on. So lists are very important too. They can be a very good tool. If I would have known this at the very beginning, it would have saved me a buttload of time trying to figure out what I was going to do, how I was going to do it, where I was going to do this, what I was going to find, how I was going to find this information, that kind of thing. I think the bottom line is, the last thing I want to mention, is had I known at the beginning that my work was my work, that however I do it, in the end, making sure that I list all the resources that I used, keeping a bibliography as I go of all of the different, hey, I found this photograph at this archive, or hey, this article said this and this and this, and the date, time, and the resource that the article was published, the credits down there. Keeping a bibliography, like I said, very important. But anyway, the bottom line, though, is to make sure that your research is your own. So, instead of plagiarizing things like taking notes, take notes in your own words. Make sure that you are putting your thumbprint on everything that you do. Make sure your DNA is on that research before it's over with. Um, and stylize it in a way that is yours. If you're writing a report or whatever, if you're doing your report on your computer, using icons, using bullet lists, using things that are unique to you, um, in your digital, in your report process. I strongly urge using OneNote and things like that, um, as a filing system, as a reporting system, a way of being able to do your reporting and so forth, because you can customize and edit and so forth in a way that's really uniquely you. Um, you can keep your files together in a way that's uniquely yours, but um, make sure that you do you in the process of all of this. It's good to have, like I said, all the stuff that I mentioned today. It's good to have these things. But again, what I'm saying though is make sure that you put you into the research. Um, Instead of writing things in your own words, using touches and styles of how you do things that has your brand in it. Uh, don't get mechanized. Don't go researching how to do research papers or whatever and try to do things in such a mechanized way that you look like you just mechanically reproduced what a book told you to do and the way it told you to do it. um, it's good to get suggestions. AI can give you suggestions on how to go about doing things, and following those suggestions are good, but doing it in a way that you put your touch to it. I cannot stress that enough, to make your work personal. That is my final thought on things that I wish I would have known in the beginning, is to make my stuff personal. Um, you know, add sketches or drawings or whatever that were mine, detailing certain things or trying to sketch out certain things, or how I go about doing my files and so forth to make it uniquely mine. And it's like there's all kinds of things that you can do. So many things you can do to add your personal color into the picture. So that is kind of this episode is an experimental episode in a sense of personal journal into the paranormal files. Uh, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you take some of this information and run with it. Like I said, it's stuff that I've thought about a lot lately. Uh, while I'm doing my current work, these are all things that I try to bring up in my mind as I go now. Yeah. So tomorrow night, Friday night, my Friday Night Live will be with Daniel Hamilton. I'm excited about that because his new podcast just hit 1K this week, and it'll be good to hear about the podcast, share some information with him from him about what's going on, if he's had any experiences recently, just good stuff all the way around. Next Tuesday, I have Laura Risty's interview about the Trini Gibson case. I'm very excited about that dropping. It's already scheduled to drop at 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning. So get ready for that. And then next Thursday will be another paranormal file. I'm really debating right now if I'm going to do a paranormal file on. I want to start a cryptid series on the paranormal file. So I can't decide if I want to start out with the Dogman, Bigfoot, or Mothman on the start up for. Like those are the big three, right? So those will probably be the first three that I touch on in the cryptid series. And then I'll look at some other less talked about cryptids. But I think this next Thursday, I'm going to start the cryptid series. I just haven't decided which one of the cryptids I want to feature first. So look forward to that. That will drop at 7 p.m. Central Time on next Thursday as a premiere. This Friday, tomorrow, the live starts at 7:15. Did I say 7:30 on the files? It's 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time on Thursday for the files. Tomorrow's live will start at 7:15 p.m. Central Time. I'm moved forward 15 minutes to give Tom with the Eye of Jupiter a little bit of leeway for his launch into the Friday shows. So my Friday live will be at 7:15 p.m. from here on out. And then, of course, anytime after 8 a.m. on Tuesday, you can find the Tuesday drop. But this went a little long today compared to what I normally do with the files. But and the cryptid series may go kind of long. We'll see. We'll see how deep I dig into it. But anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with me today. And as always, may your journey always be magical.